Able to seal him. Here's the pass. Oh, what a catch! Leaping into the air and pulling it down is T. Higgins. Burrow facing pressure. Goes over the top. Wide open is Chase. And he splits the defenders for the touchdown. Cincinnati Kid, Hubbard's got a convoy, chased by Andrews, at the 30, the 20, he will score!
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, the Jake Browning era begins this week. We got a lot to talk about and a big game coming up this Sunday, really our season in the balance. But before we talk about all that, Mom, we have Thanksgiving tomorrow. How has your week been so far?
Good. I'm just excited about seeing Jake Browning play on Sunday. It's a little exciting. Don't know really what to expect. I want him to do well. He's playing a tough team, playing the Steelers, so I expect them to come at him hard. But I'm excited about Thanksgiving. I have to work tomorrow at the fire department, so we're going to celebrate Friday or Saturday. And that it is what it is. It's part of being a fireman. You have to work holidays at times.
Well, we appreciate everything you guys do for us. Hooday, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We have a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. Mon, I'm with you. This Jake Browning thing, I'll be honest with you. I was very, very nervous about this situation all season long. I have been for the last couple of years because, like I said last episode, I really haven't felt like we've had a legitimate backup quarterback. But I'll tell you, after going back and watching the end of that second half of that Baltimore game, and after listening to Jake Browning speak and his teammates speak about him, I think we're going to be a little surprised on how well Jake Browning shows up and plays. Now, again, I don't want to sound like a homer. I know everybody thinks I am. But I really do think this guy, Jake Browning, if I don't know if you heard his presser today, but he really, he's very humble guy. He's very, very quiet, nonchalant. Again, like I said last week, a lot like Joe Burrow. He carries himself in that way. But what really stuck with me about his press conference today is he talked about he has worked for everything that he has gotten. He's never been handed anything. He talked about his time in Minnesota and scrounging through his career, fighting just to be on a practice squad and then as a backup, and now he's getting his opportunity. We could see a guy on Sunday that is hungry and really is going to take this opportunity and run with it. What do you think?
Yeah, he definitely doesn't lack confidence.
No, not
yeah,
at all.
I'm rooting for him. It's going to be key to the starters on offense and defense. Every single one of them, they have to play a little better. And that's I know it sounds really a simplistic comment, but that's the truth. Everybody has to play a little bit better. Jake Browning is going to go out there. We called him a gunslinger in preseason. He's not going to be, we shouldn't expect him to be Joe Burrow. That's not fair, but he needs to come in there and just play solid football. I was thinking about something, Jake. We've been really spoiled as Bengal fans, turnover-wise. Joe Mixon doesn't cough up the ball. Joe Mixon, is just really reliable, dependable. Joe Burrow throws the ball a lot. The Bengals are about 65-35. He does have an occasional interception here and there. We don't have turnovers. If we can continue that trend, I expect them to have some, jitters, maybe a couple of mistakes here and there. But if we could limit the turnovers, run the ball a little bit better, every one of those starters play a little bit better, we'll be okay. We're going to win some games.
Agreed. Kevin, we're going to get to the injury report, but I'll go ahead and throw this out there. Hubbard did practice today. He was limited. T did not practice today, but it sounds like Coach Taylor's presser, he talked about he feels very good about how everybody is tracking to Sunday, I would say Hubbard is a definite. Again, I'm not really sure about T right now. And Cornell, I just want to throw this out there. The game is in Cincinnati, so again, I love the fact that Jake is getting his first start in Cincinnati. I think that will help. I agree with you though. If it was in Pitt, that would be a little scary. But the other thing Jake Browning talked about, Mon, is again, I just love the way this guy carries himself. But he talked a lot about, going to Dan Pitcher and going to Callahan and telling those guys, listen, I don't want to go out there and play not to lose, right? Basically saying, listen, let me go out and let me be me. Let me go out and try to win us football games. I don't want to just not go out, meaning, let's go out and run the ball 40 times and, not let me go out and do my thing. Again, that quiet confidence that Jake Browning brings, I think that says a lot about who this guy is. And to be honest, I feel more confident in a quarterback that goes to his coaches and says, hey, let me go out and let me sling this thing, right? Let me go out. The guy won in high school. He won in college. Won state championships in high school, played in the Rose Bowl in college, broke all these records. The guy knows he can play football. He's very confident in his game, and he wants to go out with an open playbook and sling the thing.
Yeah, he does. As we said, he doesn't lack that confidence. He's going to go out there and and play his tail off. I still think he's been in the system 3 years. He knows the playbook like the back of his hand. That's a plus.
Yes.
So like I said last week, trust me, they're not going to. I think every play in the playbook is going to be an option. Let's put it that way. You have a rookie
Right.
come in there or a new guy, they might trim it back and do this. I don't think that's going to be the case. Still, the Bengals coaches are going to have to, I think alter their approach a little bit with him. And I'm sure there's a lot of smart guys on that staff, and they're going to do that. Hopefully, something we've talked about, they need to run the ball a little bit more. And I think that's going to be the key to our success these final 7 games. If we can really get that run game going a little more consistently, take the pressure off of him, off of Jake Browning, that is. And that's also going to help that defense that's still trying to find their footing. It's not the defense we're used to. Got a lot of good players there, but the depth isn't there. And so I think a nice little running game will help the defense and Jake Browning.
I agree. And I agree, Andrew, just like Mon said, I agree with both of you. The defense has got to play a lot better. They got to create turnovers, right? They got to alter the field position for this offense. They got to put Jake Browning in situations where we can score quick and easy, right? Where we don't have to put 20 play drives together or 15 play drives together. And I think if the defense does that, especially early, Jake Browning is going to be able to play with some confidence and let that carry him throughout. I want to say this, Mon. I watched From the Jungle, the episode this week, and you and I talked about it off air. Watching that From the Jungle, this new episode, it was so heartbreaking. Just rewatching the bits and pieces of the Texans game. That's a game on that we're going to remember no matter what happens the rest of the season. A game that you said it reminds you of the 49er game. For me, you're talking about the 49er game, was that 2 years ago?
Right.
Yeah, two years ago. It reminded me of the Pittsburgh Steelers game last year that you and I were at together. But rewatching that and, just so many missed opportunities in that game. I don't want to just dwell on it, but I guess my point is this Bengals football team the talent on this team right now has been carrying it and keeping us in these football games. You looked at the Baltimore game, and again, we're winning that football game, really controlling that football game before Joe Burrow goes down. I guess what I want to ask you, Mon, is this roster talented enough to help carry Jake Browning? I say yes. I want to know what you think.
Yeah, I think it is. Absolutely. there's a lot of very, very good NFL talent on that roster. And as I said a few minutes ago, every single one of those players has to play better. Has to. That's the key to our remaining 7 games. Going back, why it reminds me of that 49er game 2 years ago in Paycor. The Bengals really had no reason to be in that game. The offense woke up in the fourth quarter. That's when Joe
That's
Burrow
right.
through those touchdown passes. That one
Those
great one that
two,
Jamar
wasn't
Chase
it two,
the back
both to Jamar, right? That
in the
game
back
one?
of the end
Yeah, that's
zone.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I
Yeah.
mean, really, their offense did nothing until the
Yeah.
fourth quarter, and then they tied the game. And Jesse Bates drops basically a walk-off pick six. The
Yeah.
game would have been over. And it was just one of those just emotional roller coaster. It just wasn't our day. Then all of a sudden it's tied, and then boom. The Texans game, I know it's a regular season game. It's going to go down to one of the hardest losses for me to get over. It was just such an
yeah.
emotional roller coaster. I still think about it. I did watch that episode. They spent way too much time talking about it. It was painful
Way too
to
much
watch.
time. Way too
Yeah,
much time.
but it is what it is. But we got to move on. But you know what? It's up to Zach Taylor. It's up to Lou Anarumo. It's up to Darren Simmons. It's up to Brian Callahan. They have got to get these guys ready, and every single one of them, every one of them, has to play better. It has to start on the offensive line and defensive line. I forgot about this. They're top 10 highest paid each position, defensive line and offensive line. You guys, there's a lot of high price talent there. You all have to play better. You have to. And I think they will. I think they're going to be up to the challenge. And, one other thing I want to talk about, the Steelers, they fired their offensive coordinator. Makes me a little nervous a little bit. They might get that little bit of a bounce. They're going to play harder.
Yeah.
Bengals got to be ready for that.
I agree. The other thing I want to talk to you about is, we saw it in Zach Taylor's press conference, and he talked about, yes, Dustin, I hope not. I hope that you're wrong about that, about T. It is going to be interesting to see, though, what T ends up doing. Hopefully he comes back and helps carry this team to the playoffs. But, Mon, I want to talk about this Logan Wilson situation one more time, because it's so disheartening. And you went on, I'll give you props. You went on Twitter and battled it out, undefeated still. I got to give you props, my man. But Logan Wilson, class act. He comes on, he talks about it today in the locker room. Just wanted to thank Coach Taylor. And again, if you guys didn't see Coach Taylor's last presser, right before he left, he said, hang on, before I leave, I want to talk about the Logan Wilson nonsense, which, again, we all know it's nonsense. We all know what kind of man Logan Wilson is and how he plays football. And I hope he never changes the way he plays football, because that's what makes him great. But real quick, Mon, and then I don't want to talk about it again, because I hate that this guy and his family's been dragged through the mud. But the Logan Wilson situation, you went on Twitter, defended him. I want you to talk about that just for a minute or two, about that entire situation.
Yeah, somebody posted the Instagram comment from Logan Wilson's wife. She's expecting a baby. Apparently, some idiotic Raven fans made threats towards her, and she posted that comment. Upset her family, and the person's dark and twisted. So I just replied to it, and I put "enjoy it, rap sheet," and he blocked me immediately. So I took a screenshot of that and I posted it, and 95% of the comments were positive, but then I had a couple people, I'm an attention seeker, this and that, whatever. I just wanted to call out the rap sheet, because he basically, all he did was, when the coach Harbaugh said what he said after the game, he just basically parroted what he said, just
fire, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was just reckless and ridiculous. And there's other guys on Twitter, Warren Sharp from Sharp Analytics. He posted some things. I just want you to know something. Logan Wilson is not a dirty player. I don't think he's ever had a 15-yard penalty in the pros. And the last thing anybody wants is any player hurt. And it was magnified because Mark Andrews is the best tight end in football. And it sucks. I feel for him. Listen, when Joe blew out his knee in that Washington game, did any Bengal fan go after that defensive lineman? No. It sucked, and it is what it is. It's exhausting. It really is, and it's really disappointing. And I want to say this: not all Raven fans are twisted and dark. I don't think they're that way, but there are factions of fan bases that are just ridiculous.
Agreed. So this, we could. We've heard a lot of news about it. Uh, we've heard about them maybe possibly in the offseason getting rid of the hip tackle, which is the tackle that Mark Andrews was hurt on. Real quick, Mom, what's your feelings on that? Because I'll tell you, as a football coach, getting rid of that, you already put the defense in bad situations to have to make football plays, right? We've already the sport of football has already changed extremely from when you and I, watched it 30 years ago. But what's your feelings on them taking that hip tackle out? I find it interesting. I think it's going to be a big argument.
It's an emotional thing now because the Andrews injury, then Jordan Travis from FSU. It's in the spotlight, national championship team, really good team, and his injury was gruesome. So it's magnified right now. My concern is this. Jake, you know this. When they start altering things, you can't hit in the head, which is a good thing. What happened? You started seeing, more knee injuries, more lower tackles. So what's going to be the blowback here? The hip drop tackle is outlawed. What's going to happen next? Tackling's going to evolve in another way that's probably just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. So I know it's an emotional thing now. Hopefully, the people that make these decisions can talk about it and figure something out. But it's a part of football. Yes, it's dangerous, and I think that I read an article today. It happens 1 to 2 times in every game. But like Solomon Wilcott said in his podcast, I listened to it. You sent me the link. He was tackling guys that weighed 50 pounds more than him. And his job was to bring the guy down. If he didn't bring him down, he lost his job. So it's, what can you do? What can you do? I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough one. And there's a lot of smarter people out there, smarter than me, that are going to have to make that decision.
Well, Cornell and Andrew both say flag football's next. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. We need to move on, though, Mom. We need to talk about the upcoming games. Obviously, 2 very big games in our division. And let's be very clear. The Bengals are right in the mix of this whole thing, right? After this past weekend, even Kansas City loses. The Bengals are 2 games, Mon. They're 2.5 games, I think, right now out of that contention where we want to be. But only really a game out of the playoffs right now. And this weekend could be huge for the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's start off with Eric. What are we going to start off with? We're going to start off with the Ravens at Chargers, Mon. The Baltimore Ravens go out to LA to face the Chargers. The Chargers are reeling right now at 4-6, but still a very talented team. That's a tough road trip to have to go out to Los Angeles and play. Obviously, Bosa, we saw Bosa go down last week. He is going to IR. So that's a big blow to the Los Angeles Chargers. But, Mom, what do you think about the Ravens at Chargers? What do you think about the game, and who do you think wins?
I think it's always hard for a team on the East Coast to go out west and play in San Diego or in Los Angeles. Chargers are underperforming. Coach is on the hot seat. They got a really good quarterback. I think the Chargers are going to win this game. Ravens coming off that big win against us. They are down Mark Andrews. I think one of their Duvernay or one of the other who's the other? Bateman was injured today in practice. I don't know if it's a serious one. I think the Chargers are going to win this game. I think it's going to be a letdown game for the Ravens. I think it's going to be an easy win for the Chargers. I'm going to make it 28-17 Chargers.
I'm going to say the Chargers win 24-17. And I agree with you. I think the Ravens having to go out to Los Angeles, obviously winning a big game against the Bengals, minus Joe Burrow, throwing a little asterisk there, minus Joe Burrow. But I do think the Ravens go out. The Chargers have to win this football game if they want any hope left, which is very dwindling for the Los Angeles Chargers. So I think the Chargers win 24-17. I'm with you on that. And then we have the other team in the North has to travel out west as well. The Cleveland Browns have to go to the Denver Broncos, one of the hottest teams in football, and a team that the Bengals are battling with right now for one of those wild card spots. Browns at Broncos, Mon. Who do you think wins?
Broncos are playing really good football. I think they've won 4 in a row. Russell Wilson has sort of reinvented himself a little bit. They have always had a really good defense. Cleveland with that rookie quarterback, I don't think it's going to be pretty. The Browns will be in every remaining game this season. Their defense is that good. I think they're only giving up like 240 yards a game.
It's crazy.
Denver's going to win. I think it's going to be a comfortable win. I think it's going to be like 20-10 Denver, but Denver's definitely going to win that game. I feel really confident about these 2 picks. I really do.
I do too, Mon. And again, I don't want to sound like a homer, but I think both these teams having to go out west and playing two teams that are fighting for their lives right now. I think the Denver Broncos win this game pretty easy. I think it's 24-10. And again, I think the Cleveland Browns, I don't disagree with you that they're going to be every game because of the defense, because I definitely agree with you on Cleveland's defense. They have won – Cleveland's defense has won them 4 games this year. I think you could easily say 4 games this year were won by the Cleveland Browns defense, meaning the offense didn't even have to show up, and the Browns win. Going to be very interesting, though, to see what happens with these 2 games, because if they do happen like we just said they would, and the Bengals knock off the Steelers, the Bengals are right back in this thing, Mon. Let's get to the big game this weekend, the Steelers at Bengals. This Pittsburgh Steelers team, you talked about Matt Canada. He's been fired. I think their running backs coach now is taking over, calling the plays. I'm with you. Usually this is a sign where the team comes out and plays hard. But I'll say this. I'm not sure the Steelers have very good talent on offense. But I'm going to let you talk about that first. Tell me a little bit about this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, Mon, and what you think about it.
I'll give you some of their stats first. Matt Canada was fired, and this is probably the reason why. They're 28th in scoring in the NFL. They're only scoring about 16 points a game. Points allowed, their defense is pretty good. They're only giving up 19 points a game, so that's why their record is what it is. Total offense, they're 28th in the NFL. Their offense is generating about 280 yards a game. 16th in rushing, which is 110. Passing, 31st, a really poor passing game, only passing for about 170 yards a game. The thing about the Steelers, why they're in these games, their turnover differential is number 1 in the NFL. They're plus 11. Cincinnati's number 2 at plus 10. They're very opportunistic. TJ Watt, who's the other defensive end, 56. What's his name? I forget his name. He had 3 sacks against us last year. He comes in. I mean, they generate a lot of pressure.
Highsmith.
Highsmith.
Yeah.
Alonzo Highsmith played for the Miami Hurricanes. No, but Highsmith, he's really good defensive end, and they put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Quarterbacks end up coughing up the ball or throwing those interceptions. The thing that scares me the most about the Pittsburgh Steelers is their run game, and it's not Najee Harris. It's Jalen Warren. He's like 5'11", 210 pounds. The guy, he's 5'9". He's very short, but he's built really, 210 pounds. He's hard to bring down, and he's fast. I think he's the best running back on the roster. He's averaging 6.2 yards per carry, 80 rush attempts for almost 500 yards. That's the guy that could give us trouble. If he starts running, the Bengals are in serious trouble. And Kenny Pickett, I've told you this before. I told you this on phone calls and texts. I can't believe he's an NFL quarterback at times. He looks so bad. But then Jake, that light switch comes on, and he starts throwing darts. 10 straight completions. He looks unbelievable, but he's so inconsistent. I don't want him to wake up in the third, fourth quarter like he's been doing. Cincinnati's got to be ready for that. The number one thing this Bengal defense has to do, stop the run. Yes. Make Kenny Pickett beat you. If Kenny Pickett beats you, you don't deserve it. It's it. You did what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Make him beat you.
I agree. Let me throw you this stat out here, Mon. The Pittsburgh Steelers, this is crazy. It's crazy that they're 6-4. In 10 games, Mon, this team has only scored 16 offensive touchdowns. 16. offensive touchdowns, Mon, in 10 games. That is insane. That is just mind-blowing that they're 6-4. You talked about Najee Harris with 3 touchdowns, Warren with 3, Pickett ran for 1. Pickett 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions on the season, Mon. 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions on the season. And Mitch Trubisky comes in and fires it up, 1 touchdown with 2 picks. This offense is so bad and truly possibly the worst offense in the NFL. Now, how much of that has to do with Matt Canada? I don't know. I really don't know. But I do know this, that when you're scoring at that rate, a lot of it has to do with your talent. Matt Canada took the hit for this offense, which usually happens, instead of Kenny Pickett, because Kenny Pickett's the savior of this organization, supposedly. But a lot of times, Mon, 16 touchdowns, that's not always the play calling. That's just bad talent. George Pickens, who is their number 1 receiver, he is questionable, Mon. He's dealing with a hamstring injury as well. He has 37 receptions for 600 yards and only 3 touchdowns. Every once in a while, he'll pull a great catch out. There's no doubt about it. But this team really has struggled throwing the football. Their next top receiver is the running back Warren with 34 receptions. He's almost got more receptions than George Pickens does. So this offense really struggling. If this Bengals defense, just like you said, Mon, can stop the run, the Bengals are going to win this football game. If Jake goes out and plays without turning the football over and we stop the run, the Bengals will win this game very easily. But let's jump to the Steelers defense real quick, Mom, because this Steelers defense is really good.
I really think that the Steelers know the Bengals are going to go all out to stop the run, and I fully expect them, the Steelers that is, to try to open it up. Allen Robinson has had a good NFL career. Pickens, I think he's being affected by the quarterback play, but he's a good, talented player. And Deontay Johnson can make plays if he catches the ball. So they do have some skilled players, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try to open it up with this new offensive coordinator. It's going to be something to monitor. The Bengals have to be ready for it. But let's talk about the defense.
Let's talk about the defense, because we talk about the Cleveland Browns defense and how good it is. You want to know why the Steelers are 6-4, Mon? It's because of their defense. Yep. The same exact reason that Cleveland is 7-3 is the same exact reason that Pittsburgh is 6-4. 2 very bad offenses, but 2 really good defenses. And I guess that's why I'm so hard on the Bengals defense all the time, because I just want them to play at that level. Just play at that level, because they can. They're talented enough. But let's look at this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Obviously, T.J. Watt is a generational type player. I'll be honest, I think he's better than his brother was. He right now 11.5 sacks for T.J. Watt, a guy you obviously have to stop. Alonzo Highsmith, you spoke about him, with 4.5 sacks on the other side. They have become a very good tandem of pass rushers. But the linebackers on this team are not what we are used to seeing. They have struggled, Mon, and you saw it this week. The Steelers right now are scrounging for linebackers. They're doing everything they can to try to get one good linebacker on this roster. And I think this is a team that the Bengals, they've done a great job these last 2 years of running the football against them. If they can come out and establish the run with Joe Mixon, these linebackers on the Pittsburgh Steelers are not very good, Mom.
No, technically, I mean, T.J. Watt's considered a linebacker, even though we know he isn't. He rushes the back. Yeah, no, you're right. But, their top 2 are Highsmith and him. But then they have some guys, Larry Ogunjobi, an old friend of ours, Keanu Benton. They got some really good defensive linemen there. You're right, Jake. That's the reason they've won these games. And
I guess I should
They
say they're off-ball linebackers, right?
That's right.
They're
That's right.
off-ball
Yeah,
linebackers. There you go.
yeah. What they're going to do is they are going to absolutely send the kitchen sink at Jake Browning. They want him rattled. They want him to cough up the ball. They want him flustered. So that's where our coaching staff has to counter that. These guys are going to just send the kitchen sink at him. We have to be prepared for it. They're going to want to try to get a quick interception, just good field position. It's up to our team to set up our coaches to set Jake Browning up to succeed. Offensive line has really got to step up and be prepared for it. I wouldn't be surprised if Bengals have all 4 tight ends active again, maybe play some heavy sets, unbalanced lines. We got to run this ball. I said something last night on Ace and Zim show in the chat. Mon's hot take. Maybe I'm in fantasy land. We have 7 games left. Cincinnati Bengals are going to have 950 yards rushing in these 7 games. They're going to run the ball that much. That's Mon's hot take. At the end of the season, we'll see how close I was. But I'm saying 950 yards rushing these final 7 games.
I'm going to say this. Here's Jake's hot take. If you're right about that, Mon, the Bengals will be in the playoffs. If you are right, the Bengals will be in the playoffs. Houday, Lolita, yes, happy Thanksgiving Eve for sure. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. All right, yeah, Mon, this Steelers Bengal game, it's really just going to be an odd game, right? Because it's a Steelers team that's reeling offensively. They're struggling. A Bengals team who lost their elite top tier quarterback and now has a guy coming in that's hasn't started an NFL game yet in his career. It's going to be defense versus defense, right? It's going to be how well these two defenses play. And the Bengals defense, Mom, they haven't played to what we've expected them to play. But if they get Sam Hubbard back and Cam Taylor-Britt's healthy, I feel very good that this defense is going to put this game on the shoulders. And if you listen to Sam Hubbard this week, he spoke a little bit about that. He talked about defensively, we got to kind of put this team on our shoulders, and help Jake Browning out as much as possible. Again, defensively for us, Mon, how do we match up against this Pittsburgh Steelers offense? Because I'll be honest with you, I like our matchup against this Pittsburgh Steelers offense.
I do too. I mean, I don't expect the Steelers to turn into the Rams of 1999 with their new offensive coordinator.
No.
I still think they're going to have some issues. They will have some plays. Warren is a very good running back, and Pickens, if he plays, Pickens can cause some problems. But I love our matchup against him. We said it in last week's episode or the last episode. I don't have a problem with our front 7, the starters, but buddy, when they start substituting out, there is a drop-off, too big of a drop-off, and we need some of those guys to really start playing better. And we said this back when Jesse Bates signed with the Falcons and Von Bell left. There was going to be some issues in the secondary, and we're still seeing it. Dax Hill has been a solid player. We have a switch now. It looks like Jordan Battle is going to be the starter, a little more physical than Nick Scott. We'll see how he plays. Cheeto is still trying to find his footing. I think he's getting a little better, but it's more DJ Turner, Cam Taylor-Britt now, Mike Hilton. So I agree with Sam Hubbard. They have to play better. We just said that on this show. Every starter has to play better. And if they do, we're going to be in the playoffs. I really feel that.
I do too. Another big news here is Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick did not practice again today. He is banged up. So you have Minkah Fitzpatrick banged up. You have George Pickens banged up. Again, 2 guys that are really standouts for this football team that are banged up. And I'm going to tell you right now, if Minkah Fitzpatrick can't go and this offensive line for the Bengals can give Jake a little bit of time, he can carve up. This Pittsburgh defensive backfield, Mon, after Minkah Fitzpatrick is not very good. Joey Porter Jr., obviously, he has had his ups and downs this year. He's struggled. It's bad when Patrick Peterson, you have to go out and get Patrick Peterson, who's jumped around to 4 different NFL teams in the last 3 years. So this Steelers defense on the back end struggling, but their front seven, especially that and we'll say front seven because we'll count the on-ball linebackers of T.J. Watt and Alonzo Highsmith. But that front is so good at getting to the quarterback that this defensive backfield doesn't have to be great for the Steelers. Just got to give Jake time. And again, like you said, Mom, the way you alleviate the pass rush and you alleviate teams bringing the house is you run the ball.
The Steelers defense has been susceptible to teams running against them also. Teams have had success running the ball against the Steelers. Coach Taylor, if your first 10 rush plays, you only get 20 yards, don't give up. Keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. So what if you have to punt? Keep on doing it. Don't give up on the run. I really think this run game is going to take off. I think Chase is going to come back. Chase Brown, and is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I heard a podcast today, and they were calling him Charlie Brown. I'm like, oh, what the heck? Thanksgiving, whatever. Yeah. I think his hamstring. He's gonna be healthy. I expect him to get a lot of carries. I can see the Bengals getting minimum 20 to 25 carries a game for the next 7. I really think this run game is going to take off. And I think it's going to have a long-term effect on the Cincinnati Bengals for the next 5-6 years if it happens.
I mean, that'd be nice, right? That would be nice if they can find this run game. And I want to talk about real quick. Kevin just wrote on here about Jake Browning and his future. Listen, when you listen to Jake Browning talk, especially today, you could hear it in his voice. He knows what kind of opportunity this is. He knows, Mon. He's not hiding from it. He's not talking about it. Here it is right here. He knows that if he can will this Bengals team to the playoffs, his ticket is punched. His ticket is punched next year. So it's going to be just I'm with you, Mon. I hate this situation, and maybe it's just my way of trying to deal with it. Houday, Vanguard. Maybe it's just Ann Douglas, Houday Douglas. Maybe it's just my way of trying to deal with losing Joe Burrow. But man, oh man, I am excited to see what Jake Browning brings to the table. I'm excited to see if he goes out there and just plays great and starts willing this Bengals team to wins and kind of see what happens after that. Going to be very interesting. I can tell you right now, the Ravens, the Browns, the Steelers, they are hoping that Jake Browning fails because they do not want to see the Bengals in the playoffs.
Yeah, let's just take care of the Steelers this week and let's protect him. Let's set him up to succeed. You got to set him up to succeed. He can't carry the team on his shoulders. Every player on this roster has to play better. Every starter.
Every starter. All right, Mon, let's pick this game. Steelers at Bengals. Who you got?
I think it's going to be tough at first. I think the Steelers are going to be fired up. Like I said, they're going to really put a lot of pressure on Jake Browning. He'll get his footing. I think, the Bengals might have a couple turnovers here and there, but I think they win 17-13. Cincinnati Bengals over the Steelers.
I'm going to go 21-13. The Cincinnati Bengals win this football game. And I'll tell you this. And I think Jake Browning goes out and plays well. I think he does. I don't think he goes out and turns the football over. And I think the Bengals defense makes a big play in this game. I'll say this, Mon, and it's crazy to think this because the Steelers have owned us, right? Throughout the years, it hasn't been the Browns. It hasn't been the Ravens. In fact, we've really owned the Browns and the Ravens. But the Pittsburgh – well, I'm not talking about the last 2 years with the Browns.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the last 20 years, it's hard to believe this. It's hard for me to say this. But if I were to pick one team for the Bengals to be playing this week with a new quarterback, it would honestly be the Pittsburgh Steelers because their offense is so bad, Mon.
Yeah, we just talked about it. I mean, they got a new leader. They they got a new leader right now. I saw a stat the other day. I think there's only three or four Bengal coaches that have a winning record against the Steelers. Forrest Gregg, Sam Weish was one of them. Unfortunately, Marvin Lewis wasn't. He was like 8-26 against the Steelers.
No,
Yeah,
no.
so I think if Zach Taylor wins, he's going to have a winning record against the Steelers. Let's just get this win. I think it's going to be ugly. We're going to have some angst. There's going to be some issues pop up in this game. I just don't see the Bengals losing at home. I don't see it happening. I think you're right. I think this defense is going to come up with a big play to flip the game, and we're going to win it. We're going to win this game.
Your boy Aaron cracks me up. This guy, he just has such a he must. I think he is a closet Bengals fan. I really do believe Aaron is a closet Bengals fan. The Bengals just stay. I love who wrote that. Douglas wrote the Bengals still living rent free in little Aaron's head. It's so true. Aaron, just come on board, dude. Come on board. We have a better quarterback. Your quarterback can't win the big games. When Joe Burrow comes back healthy next year, he's going to run the table on you. Just come over, Aaron. Come on over to the orange and black. You know you want to. It's obvious. Mon, this is going to be a great game this weekend. I really do believe it, and it's going to be awesome to watch this city rally around Jake Browning. And I mean, how can you not root for this guy, right? How can you not root for him to go out and play great?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I love it. I love the fact that some of the fans are being called out for selling their tickets and leaving. Don't do that. Come to the game, support this team, support them high and low. Yeah, we still have a lot to play for. We really do. And I can't stand. I don't want people trying to play for draft picks. There's been a debate on Twitter about that. A top 10 pick's going to help us. No, winning's going to help us. Winning culture. It's about winning, winning, winning. Don't worry about draft picks.
Absolutely. I don't care about draft picks, Mon. I talked about it. We don't need draft picks. We need to continue winning and keep this thing going. All right, guys, that is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. As always, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. If you go on there, make sure you give Mon and I that 5-star review. We very much appreciate that. Follow Mon on Twitter at The Fire Mon. Follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's 88. Follow the Cincinnati Podcast Network at Cincinnati Pod on Twitter. And of course, follow the Bengals Pulse on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. On Instagram, the same without the at Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Cincinnati Podcast Network. I want to say before we go, Mon, really quick, and I'll throw it to you for last word. I just want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in every episode. You guys are incredible. We love you guys. Keep on. We'll keep bringing you this Bengal content. You guys are just awesome, and we love you. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody, even Aaron and all of you other people that troll us. I wish your families nothing but the best. Have an incredible Thanksgiving, everybody. And thank you guys once again for tuning in. Mon, last words.
Guys, take care. Thanks for the support. Happy Thanksgiving. Be safe.